Want to speak English fluently in just 7 days? If you feel stuck when you try to speak, today is your lucky day. Welcome to day one of our 7-day English Fluency Challenge.
That's right. Today, we are focusing on 99 essential English sentences, and we are going to use a special, highly effective technique called shadowing. When I was a beginner, this technique completely changed how I speak.
I am so glad it helped you, David. For our listeners, shadowing simply means you listen to an English sentence and then you repeat it out loud immediately. You copy the sounds just like a shadow follows a person. It is the fastest way to train your mouth to speak naturally.
Exactly, Emma. It stops you from translating words in your head. You just hear the rhythm and copy it. We will guide you through these 99 sentences today, step by step. You don't need a textbook, just your voice and a quiet room.
You know, David, while we were preparing these sentences today, I remembered a very simple rule about shadowing. I call it the mirror trick. It fixes 90% of pronunciation mistakes almost instantly. I will share it with you and our listeners a little later in this podcast.
Oh, the mirror trick. Now I am really curious. I honestly wish I knew that trick when I was learning my first words. But let's not make them wait for the practice. Are you ready to dive into the first set of everyday sentences?
Absolutely. Let's start with sentences we use every single morning. Listen closely and remember to repeat exactly after us.
The very first thing you might say is about waking up. Let's start there. I wake up at 7 a.m. Listen and repeat. I wake up at 7 a.m.
Great job. Now, here is a very common mistake I hear from beginners. Many students say, I am wake up at 7 a.m.
Oh, Emma, I used to do that all the time. I thought I needed the word am for every single sentence about myself.
It is a very natural mistake, David. But remember, when we talk about a daily habit, we don't need the be verb. We just need the action word. Just say, I wake up. Let's practice it the right way together. I wake up at 7 a.m.
Perfect. After waking up, what do we do next? We leave the bed. The sentence is, I get out of bed. Repeat after me. I get out of bed.
Excellent. Now let's build on that. A very useful English phrase is, I make my bed. This means you organize your blankets and pillows so your room looks clean. Try saying it with me. I make my bed.
You know, Emma, I remember another big mistake I made with this phrase. I used to say, I do my bed. In my native language, the verb for make and do is exactly the same word.
That makes perfect sense, David. English can be tricky with the words make and do. We usually use make when we create, build, or arrange something. So we make the bed and we make breakfast. Speaking of breakfast, let's practice that. I make breakfast.
I love breakfast. And while I eat, I usually need my morning drink. The sentence is, I drink a cup of coffee. Let's shadow this one. I drink a cup of coffee.
Beautiful pronunciation. Did you notice how David connects the words cup and of? In natural speaking, it sounds like cuppa. I drink a cup of coffee. Let's try it one more time like a native speaker.
That cuppa trick really makes a difference, Emma. After enjoying my coffee, it is time to leave the house. A simple sentence we use is, I go to work. Let's say it together. I go to work.
Spot on. Now, how do you get to work? This is where many English learners get confused with prepositions.
Oh, definitely. I remember making a funny mistake with this. I used to say, I go to work by walk. It made sense in my head.
I hear that one all the time. We use the word by for vehicles. So we say by car, by bus, or by train. But when we use our legs, we say on foot. Let's practice both. First, the vehicle. I go to work by bus.
Excellent. And now let's practice walking. I go to work on foot.
You are doing great, everyone. Now, what happens if there are too many cars on the road? We call that traffic. A great sentence to know is the traffic is heavy today.
Nobody likes heavy traffic, but it is a very useful sentence. Let's shadow it. Pay attention to the H sound in heavy. The traffic is heavy today.
And if the traffic is heavy, you might not be on time. You can say, I am running late. This doesn't mean you are physically running with your legs, it just means you are behind schedule. Try it. I am running late.
And when you finally arrive at work, even if you are running late, you still need to greet your coworkers.
Exactly. You want to sound friendly. A very common question you will hear in the office is, how is your day going? Let's practice that together. How is your day going?
You know, Emma, when I first started working in an English-speaking office, I always answered every single greeting with, I am fine, thank you, and you? I sounded like a robot.
Oh, David, that is what every textbook teaches. It is definitely not wrong, but it does sound a little unnatural in everyday conversation. A better, more native way to reply is simply, I'm doing well, thanks. You?
Yes, it is so much shorter and friendlier. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this natural response. Listen closely and repeat. I'm doing well, thanks. You?
Perfect. Now, after saying hello, it is time to actually start working. The very first thing you do when you sit at your desk is prepare your equipment. The phrase is, I turn on my computer.
Let's shadow that one. Pay attention to how the words turn and on connect smoothly. I turn on my computer.
Great job. Next, you probably need to look at your messages. A very useful everyday phrase is, I check my emails. Try saying it with me. I check my emails. A quick tip for our learners here. Notice the S at the end of emails. Many learners forget it and just say email for everything. Adding the S is very common when talking about the many messages waiting for you in your inbox. Let's practice it one more time. I check my emails.
After I check my emails, my inbox is usually full, and then it is time to gather with the team. A very common sentence is, I have a meeting. Let's shadow that together. I have a meeting.
Excellent. Now, here is something interesting. I often hear students say, I make a meeting. Have you ever heard that, David?
Heard it? I used to say it. It is that tricky word make again.
That's right. For scheduled events or appointments, we don't make or do them, we have them. We have a meeting or we have an appointment. Let's practice the correct way again. I have a meeting.
Speaking of daily work routines, Emma, this is a great time to ask our listeners a question.
Oh, yes, we want to hear from you right now. Do you prefer working in an office or do you prefer working from home? Go to the comments and write your answer. We read every single one.
I love reading the comments. Now, whether you are at home or in the office, you eventually need to rest. The phrase we use is, I take a break. Listen and repeat. I take a break.
And during your break, what do you usually do? You might eat a small piece of food. We call that a snack. Let's try saying, I eat a snack.
Or you might just talk to your team to relax. I chat with my coworkers. Shadow this one with me. I chat with my coworkers.
Chatting with coworkers is great, but eventually the break is over. We have to go back to our tasks and finish the day.
Yes, and after a few more hours, the best time of the workday arrives. It is time to go back to our houses. A simple sentence to use is, I finish my work. Let's practice that. I finish my work.
Perfect. Now, I have a quick question for you, David. When you were a beginner, did you ever say, I end my work?
Oh, absolutely. I thought the words finish and end were exactly the same thing.
They are very similar, so it is a very logical mistake. But in English, we usually finish a task, a job, or a meal. We use end for things like a movie, a game, or a story. So for your job, always say, I finish my work.
That is a great tip. So after I finish my work, I leave the building. The sentence is, I leave the office. Shadow this with me. I leave the office.
Great job. And then comes the journey back. You say, I go home. Listen and repeat. I go home.
Emma, this is a huge point. I used to say I go to home for years. I thought because we say I go to work or I go to the store, we must add to before home.
That is probably one of the most common mistakes in the entire English language, David. The word home is special. It carries a feeling of comfort, and grammatically, it acts differently. It never needs the word to before it. We just say, I go home. Let's practice that correctly together. I go home.
It actually feels much easier to say without the to. And once I finally arrive, I usually say I unlock the door. Let's shadow that together. I unlock the door.
That is exactly what you do. You unlock the door, step inside, and finally relax.
Oh, it is the best feeling. The very first thing I do is remove my shoes. A good sentence for this is, I take off my shoes. Let's shadow this together. I take off my shoes.
Great. Now, after you relax for a little bit, you probably start to feel hungry. So it is time to prepare food. We can say, I cook dinner.
Emma, speaking of cooking, I have to share a very funny story. When I was learning English, I used to tell everyone, I am a very good cooker. My American friends always laughed at me.
Oh, I can see why, David. This is a classic mistake, and it is so easy to make. In English, when we add ER to a word, it usually means the person doing the action, like teacher or singer.
Correct. That is why I thought cooker was the right word for me.
But cook is an exception. A cooker is actually the metal machine in your kitchen that heats the food, like a stove. The person who makes the food is simply called a cook. So you should say, I am a good cook.
Yes, I am a person, not a machine. That is a great lesson. Now, let's practice the action of preparing the meal. I cook dinner. Repeat after me. I cook dinner.
Excellent. And when the delicious food is ready, you sit down to enjoy it. The sentence is simple. I eat dinner. Let's practice. I eat dinner.
After a good meal, my favorite thing to do is sit on the sofa and look at some shows. But wait, Emma, another mistake I used to make was saying, I see TV.
That is a very common confusion between the words see, look, and watch. We use watch when we look at something that is moving or changing over a period of time, like a television screen, a movie, or a sports game.
That rule makes it so clear. So the correct everyday sentence is, I watch TV. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this one. I watch TV.
Watching TV is the perfect way to unwind. But of course, you cannot watch TV all night.
Absolutely. Eventually, my eyes get heavy and I feel tired. Before I sleep, I need to clean my mouth. The sentence is, I brush my teeth. Let's shadow that together. I brush my teeth.
Excellent. Pay attention to that TH sound at the end of teeth. Make sure your tongue is between your teeth. Now, what is the very last thing you do before you close your eyes?
Well, I need to make sure I don't wake up late the next morning. So I take my phone and I say, I set my alarm. Listen and repeat. I set my alarm.
Very good. Now, it is time for the final action of the day. A lot of learners simply say, I sleep, when they are talking about their routine. But there is a specific phrase we use for moving your body under the blankets.
I remember struggling with this. To sleep is the action your brain and body do when your eyes are closed. But the physical action of walking into your bedroom and getting under the covers is simply, I go to bed.
That is perfectly explained, David. Let's ask our listeners to practice this very important nighttime phrase. I go to bed. And just like that, our entire day is complete. We woke up, we went to work, we came back home, and now we are in bed. Exactly. And that is a full, productive day using natural English. But before we close our eyes, David, do you remember what I promised our listeners at the very beginning of the podcast?
Oh, yes, the mirror trick. I have been waiting for this since we started. You said it fixes 90% of pronunciation mistakes instantly.
Yes, I did. The mirror trick is very simple, but it is incredibly powerful. When you practice shadowing these sentences, I want you to do it standing in front of a mirror. Look closely at how your mouth, lips, and tongue move.
So, you mean I should watch my own face while I speak?
Correct! Many English sounds, like the TH in teeth or the V in heavy, require your mouth to be in a very specific position. If you use a mirror, you can actually see if you are making the shape correctly, instead of just guessing.
That is brilliant. You connect your ears to your eyes. I am definitely going to use the mirror for our 7-day challenge. Let's ask our listeners to say, I use a mirror while visualizing it. I use a mirror.
Beautiful! Now, before we say goodbye for day 1, it is time for a quick mini quiz to test your memory from today's lesson.
Oh, I love quizzes. Let's see who was paying attention. Earlier, we talked about finishing work and returning to your house. What is the correct sentence? Do we say, I go to home, or do we say, I go home?
Think about the special rule we discussed. Take a guess and say your answer out loud right now.
Time is up.
If you said, I go home, you are 100% correct. Remember, home is special. No to is needed.
Excellent job, everyone. If you got that right, it means you were really paying attention today.
We practiced so many great everyday sentences today, from waking up in the morning to getting into bed at night. If you shadowed us today, you did an amazing job training your mouth to speak English naturally.
You really did. And remember, this is only day 1 of our 7-day fluency challenge. We have 6 more days of incredible, easy practice coming up to build your confidence.
I cannot wait for day 2. But before we say goodbye, we want to know a little bit more about you.
Exactly. Today was all about daily routines. So my question for you is, what is your favorite part of the day? Do you love the quiet morning with your coffee? Or do you prefer relaxing in the evening?
Go to the comments and tell us right now in English. I will be reading your answers and replying to as many as I can.
We can't wait to read them. Don't forget to use the mirror trick when you practice these sentences again. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow for day 2.
Bye, everyone. Keep practicing and keep speaking.
Welcome back to day 2 of our 7-day English Fluency Challenge. If you joined us yesterday, your mouth is already starting to build muscle memory. Today, we are going to make you sound even more natural.
I am so ready for day 2. Yesterday was amazing, and practicing those daily routines really helped. Today, we are focusing on sentences you need for going outside, traveling, and exploring the city.
That's right. For anyone new joining us today, shadowing is very simple. You listen to the English sentence and then you repeat it out loud immediately. Don't think about grammar, just copy the sounds like a shadow follows a person.
It is the absolute best way to stop translating words in your head. You just listen, repeat, and speak. We will guide you through these new sentences today, step by step.
You know, David, while looking at today's travel sentences, I remembered a secret about native speakers. I call it the lazy mouth technique. It sounds funny, but it is the real reason native speakers speak so quickly and smoothly. I will share exactly how to do it a little later in this podcast.
The lazy mouth technique? That sounds perfect for me. I always try too hard to pronounce every single letter. I cannot wait to learn that trick.
It will change everything for you. But first, let's get our bags packed and start our journey. Are you ready for the first set of everyday travel sentences? Listen closely and remember to repeat exactly after us.
We are ready. The very first step of any trip is usually leaving your house and getting a ride. Let's practice a very important sentence. I need a taxi to the airport. Listen and repeat. I need a taxi to the airport.
Great start. Now, imagine you are in that taxi and you finally see the airplanes. A lot of my students make a small mistake here when they talk about reaching their destination. They say, I arrived to the airport.
Oh, I definitely used to say that. Because we say go to, my brain thought we should also say arrive to.
Exactly. It is a very logical guess. But in English, the verb arrive is special. We use at for specific locations and buildings. So we arrive at the airport or we arrive at the hotel. But if it is a whole city or country, we use in, like arrive in London. Let's practice the building rule together. I arrive at the airport.
That is so much better. So now we are inside the airport. It is huge, and we need to find where to go. A very useful question to ask the staff is, where is my gate? Let's shadow this one. Where is my gate?
Perfect. Now, let's fast forward a little bit. You fly, you land, and you are in a brand new city. The first thing you usually want to do is drop off your heavy bags. So you need to find your hotel.
Yes, and sometimes the map on your phone doesn't work or you lose your internet connection. So you have to ask a person on the street. The best way to ask is, how do I get to the hotel? Let's practice that. How do I get to the hotel?
Excellent pronunciation. Did you notice how David asked that question? He didn't just say, where is hotel? Adding the phrase, how do I get to, makes you sound much more polite and natural to native speakers. Let's try it one more time. How do I get to the hotel?
And after you ask that question, you follow the directions, and finally, you see the hotel. Walking inside, you go straight to the reception desk.
Yes, and the very first thing you want to tell the receptionist is that you already booked a room. The sentence is, I have a reservation. Let's practice that. I have a reservation.
Emma, I used to make a very funny mistake here. I would walk up to a hotel desk and say, I have an appointment. The receptionists always looked so confused.
I can completely understand why, David. Both words mean you arranged something in advance, but in English, we use appointment when we meet a person, like a doctor, a dentist, or a business manager. We use reservation for a place or a service, like a hotel room, a table at a restaurant, or a flight.
That rule makes it so clear. So, for the hotel, we must say, I have a reservation. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this one more time. I have a reservation.
Excellent. Then the receptionist will ask for your identification. You will probably hear, "Can I see your passport, please?"
And you can reply with a very polite and simple sentence. Here is my passport. Let's shadow this together. Listen and repeat. Here is my passport.
Perfect. Now, after they give you the room key, you might want to know about the food. A very important question to ask is, what time is breakfast?
Oh, hotel breakfast is always the best part of the trip. Let's shadow this delicious question. What time is breakfast?
And once you know the breakfast time, your hotel check-in is complete, and you are finally ready to explore the city.
Yes, a good breakfast gives you energy for a long day of walking. When I step outside the hotel, I usually look for public transportation. A very important question is, where is the nearest subway station?
That is a perfect sentence for travelers. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it. Listen closely. Where is the nearest subway station?
Emma, I used to make a small grammatical mistake with that question. I always asked, where is the near station? I didn't know I needed to add the EST at the end of the word.
That is a very common omission, David. When we say near, we are just talking about general distance. It could be any station. But when we add EST to make it nearest, we are asking for the number one closest station to where we are standing right now.
That makes perfect sense. So always ask for the nearest. After you find the station, you need to pay for your ride. The best sentence to use is, I would like to buy a ticket. Let's practice that. I would like to buy a ticket.
Great job. Now, sometimes the ticket machines are confusing, or there are too many maps and you don't know which train to take. You can politely ask a worker, which train goes to the city center?
That is a lifesaver phrase when you're lost. Let's shadow it together. Which train goes to the city center?
Following those train directions, you finally step out and you are right in the city center. It is usually very busy, beautiful, and exciting.
Yes, and after all that walking and traveling, I am usually very hungry again. So the next step is looking for a place to eat. A simple, useful sentence is, I am looking for a restaurant.
That is a phrase you will use on every trip. Let's practice that together. Listen and repeat. I am looking for a restaurant.
Emma, speaking of restaurants and food, this is actually a perfect time to ask our listeners a quick question before we order our meal.
Oh, absolutely. We want to hear from you right now. What is your favorite type of food to eat when you travel? Do you love trying new local dishes, or do you prefer something familiar? Pause the video and write your answer in the comments.
I always love reading what you guys write. Now, let's imagine you find a great restaurant. You sit down and the waiter comes to your table.
Here is where a lot of my students make a small mistake. When they are ready to order, they often say, "I want the chicken," or "I want a coffee."
Yes, I definitely did that. In my native language, saying I want is perfectly fine. But in English, it can sound a little bit rude or demanding to a waiter online.
Exactly, David. It is a direct translation mistake. A much better, polite, and native sounding phrase is I would like. So instead of I want, you should say, I would like the chicken, please.
It sounds so much softer and friendlier. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this polite request together. I would like the chicken, please.
Beautiful. And if you don't know what they have, you need to ask for the list of food. You can say, could you bring the menu, please?
Let's practice that one too. Remember to sound polite. Could you bring the menu, please?
That was perfect. Now that you have the menu in your hands, you look at it and finally decide what to eat. When the waiter returns, they will usually ask, are you ready to order?
And my answer is always yes. To order your food, you can use the polite phrase we just learned. For example, I would like the steak. Let's shadow that together. I would like the steak.
Excellent. Now, after you finish your main meal, you might want something sweet. But be careful here. Many learners make a very funny pronunciation mistake. They say to the waiter, I would like a dessert.
A desert? With hot sand and camels? I think that would be very dry and not very tasty.
Exactly, David. The words look very similar, but they sound completely different. The hot, dry place with sand is a desert. You put the stress on the first part. But the sweet food you eat after a meal is dessert. You put the stress on the second part.
That is such an important tip. We definitely want the sweet food, not the sand. Let's ask our listeners to shadow the correct sentence. Pay attention to the stress. I would like some dessert, please.
Beautiful pronunciation. And finally, when your stomach is full and you are ready to leave, you need to pay for your food. The most natural way to ask is, can I have the bill, please?
A quick note for our listeners. In the United States, you might also hear people say check instead of bill. Both are perfectly fine and everyone will understand you. Let's practice with bill today. Listen and repeat. Can I have the bill, please?
Great job. Now you know exactly how to order a delicious meal and pay for it in English without any stress. And with a full stomach and the bill paid, you have plenty of energy to continue exploring the city.
Yes! My favorite thing to do after eating is to visit the local shops and buy souvenirs for my family. When you find something you like, you need to know the price. A great sentence is, how much does this cost?
That is a perfect and polite sentence. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this question. Listen and repeat. How much does this cost?
You know, Emma, when the shop assistant answers, you have to listen very carefully to the numbers. I used to make a huge mistake here. I always confused numbers like 15 and 50.
That is a classic English mistake, David. And it can be a very expensive mistake if you give the cashier the wrong amount of money.
That's right. I once paid $50 for a small keychain because I didn't hear the difference.
The secret to these numbers is the rhythm. For the teen numbers, like 15, the stress is strong on the second part, and the N sound is long. But for 50, the stress is on the first part, and the end is very short. Let's practice the smaller number first. It is $15.
Excellent. Now let's practice the bigger number. Notice how short the end is. It is $50.
Great job. Now you won't make any expensive mistakes. After shopping, you might need to wash your hands before you continue walking. The most polite way to ask in America is, where is the restroom?
This is an extremely important sentence to know. Let's shadow it together. Where is the restroom?
It really is. Knowing how to ask for the restroom makes traveling so much less stressful.
Absolutely. And after a quick stop, you feel refreshed and ready to go sightseeing. You finally see the famous buildings and beautiful streets.
Yes! And when you see those amazing places, you definitely want to remember them. So you pull out your phone or camera.
I take a lot of photos when I travel, but sometimes a selfie is not enough. I want a picture showing my whole body and the building behind me.
In that case, you have to ask a stranger on the street for help. A very polite and common sentence is, "Could you take a picture of me, please?"
Let's shadow this one. It is a bit long, so listen carefully to the rhythm. Could you take a picture of me, please?
Great job! Now, I have noticed many learners use the wrong action word here. Have you ever heard someone say, "Can you make a picture of me?"
Oh, I am guilty of that. In many languages, we say make a photo. I used to ask people to make a picture for me all the time.
It is a very natural direct translation, but in English, we always use the word take with photos or pictures. You take a photo, you take a picture, and you take a selfie.
That is a great rule to remember. Always take. Let's practice that polite question one more time the correct way. Could you take a picture of me, please?
Excellent. And when they give your phone back, you smile and simply say, "Thank you so much."
After a full day of walking, eating, shopping, and taking photos, the sun finally goes down. My legs are usually very tired by this point.
Traveling is exhausting. So it is finally time to return to your bed and rest. You can use a sentence very similar to what we learned this morning. I am going back to the hotel.
Let's shadow this final travel sentence for the day. I am going back to the hotel.
And that is a full, amazing day of travel. But David, before we completely relax, do you remember what I promised our listeners at the very beginning of the episode?
Oh, yes, the lazy mouth technique. I have been waiting for this. You said it is the secret to sounding like a fast native speaker.
Yes, I did. When beginners speak, they usually try to pronounce every single letter perfectly, and they take a small breath between every word. But native speakers have lazy mouths. We don't like to work that hard. We connect our words together so they flow smoothly like water.
Flow like water? Can you give us an example from today's lesson?
Of course. Think about the very first sentence we practiced. I need a taxi. A beginner often says, I need a taxi. But a native speaker connects the D in need directly to the A. It sounds like one word, Nita. Listen, I need a taxi.
Wow, I need a taxi. It actually feels much faster, and my mouth is much more relaxed.
Exactly. We call this connected speech. So when you practice your shadowing today, don't be a robot. Let your mouth be a little lazy and let the words touch each other. Let's ask our listeners to practice this relaxed linking right now. I need a taxi.
That is such a powerful trick, Emma. I am definitely going to be more lazy when I speak now.
I am glad you like it. Now, before we finish day 2, it is time for our quick mini quiz to test your memory.
Oh, it is my favorite part. Let's see who was paying attention. Earlier, we talked about asking a stranger for a photo on the street. What is the correct action word? Do we ask someone to make a picture, or do we ask them to take a picture?
Think about the rule we discussed. Take a guess and say your answer out loud right now.
Time is up. If you said take a picture, you are absolutely right. Remember, we always take photos and selfies in English.
Excellent job, everyone. If you remembered that rule, it means you are paying great attention today.
We learned so many useful travel sentences in this episode, from finding the hotel to ordering delicious food and buying souvenirs. If you shadowed us today, you are one step closer to speaking naturally.
You really are. And please, don't forget to use the lazy mouth technique when you practice these sentences again. Relax your mouth and let the words flow together like water.
Yes, it makes a huge difference. Now, before we say goodbye for day 2, we have one final question for you.
Since we talked all about exploring new cities today, we want to know, what is your dream country or city to visit in the future? Go to the comments and tell us your dream destination in English right now. I will be reading your answers and replying to as many as I can. We cannot wait to read them. Have a wonderful and relaxed day, and we will see you tomorrow for day 3 of our 7-day fluency challenge.
Bye, everyone. Keep practicing and stay lazy with your speaking.
Do you freeze when someone asks you what you do for fun? Welcome to day 3 of our 7-day English fluency challenge. Today, we are going to fix that completely.
That is right. If you are back for day 3, your mouth is already getting used to the sounds of English. Today, we are practicing everyday sentences for making friends, talking about hobbies, and socializing.
Exactly. For anyone joining us for the first time today, shadowing is a very simple but powerful method. You just listen to our English sentence and then you repeat it out loud immediately. Don't worry about grammar, just copy the sounds.
It is the absolute best way to train your mouth to speak without translating in your head. You just listen, copy the rhythm, and speak along with us.
You know, David, socializing in a new language can feel very scary, but I know a secret that native speakers use to never run out of things to say. I call it the echo trick. It keeps any conversation alive, and I will teach you exactly how to do it later in this episode.
The echo trick? That sounds amazing. When I was a beginner, I used to just say yes or no, and then the conversation would completely die. I cannot wait to learn that trick.
It is incredibly easy and effective. But first, let's practice how to introduce yourself and start a great conversation. Are you ready? Listen closely and remember to repeat exactly after us.
The very first thing you need to do is introduce yourself. A friendly and simple way to do this is, "Hi, my name is David." But when you shadow this, say your own name. Listen and repeat. "Hi, my name is."
Beautiful. And after the other person tells you their name, you want to be polite and welcoming. You should say, "It is nice to meet you." Let's practice that together. It is nice to meet you.
You know, Emma, after the names, people sometimes ask about age, and I used to make a very big mistake here. If someone asked my age, I would say, "I have 30 years."
Oh, I hear that all the time, David. In many languages, you use the verb have for your age. You have years. But in English, you do not possess your age. You are your age. So we must use the be verb.
Correct. So you don't say "I have," you say "I am." For example, I am 30 years old.
Yes. Or to sound even more natural and fast, native speakers usually drop the years old completely. We just say, "I am 30." Let's ask our listeners to practice this. Think of your own age and shadow this sentence. I am 30.
That is so much easier to say. Now, another great question to ask when you meet someone new is about their home country. The most natural question is, where are you from? Let's shadow this one. Where are you from?
Perfect. And when you answer this question, you say, "I am from," followed by your country or city. For example, "I am from Brazil." Let's practice.
I am from Brazil.
After sharing where you are from, it is very natural to ask the other person about their work. But Emma, I used to ask people, what is your work?
That is a very normal guess, David. People will definitely understand you, but it sounds a little bit formal or unnatural. The most common and friendly way to ask this in English is simply, "What do you do?"
It is so short and easy. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this important question. Listen and repeat. What do you do?
Great! Now, when it is your turn to answer, you need to be careful with a very tiny but important word. Many learners say, "I am doctor," or "I am teacher."
Yes, I always forgot to use that little word before my job title. In many languages, you don't need it at all.
Exactly. But in English, you must use an article. You should say, "I am a" before your job. Let's practice the correct way right now. I am a teacher.
Perfect. And if your job title starts with a vowel sound, like A, E, I, O, or U, remember to use an instead of a. For example, I am an engineer. Let's shadow this together. I am an engineer.
Beautiful pronunciation. Now that you know how to introduce yourself, share your age, your country, and your job, you have built a fantastic foundation for a new friendship.
But Emma, what happens after we share these basic facts? Sometimes the conversation stops and it gets very quiet and awkward.
That quiet silence is very common, David. The best way to keep a conversation going is to ask about things people love. We call these activities hobbies.
Oh, yes. Everyone loves talking about what they do for fun. So, how do we ask about hobbies naturally?
A very polite and common question is, "What do you like to do in your free time?" It shows you are interested in them. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this. Listen and repeat. What do you like to do in your free time?
That is a great question. But when I tried to answer this as a beginner, I used to make a very funny mistake. I loved the water, so I always said, I play swimming.
I hear that from so many students. In English, we use different action words for different activities. We use the word play for team sports or games with a ball, like football, tennis, or basketball.
Ah, I see. But swimming doesn't have a ball.
That's right. If a hobby or sport ends in the letters ing, we usually use the word go. So we go swimming, we go running, and we go fishing. Let's practice the correct way right now. I go swimming.
That rule is so helpful. Ball games use play, and ing words use go. Let's practice a ball sport for our listeners too. Listen and repeat. I play football.
Great job. Now, some people prefer quiet hobbies indoors. A very common one is reading. You can simply say, I like to read books. Let's shadow this together. I like to read books.
Reading is a wonderful and relaxing hobby. But what if you prefer something a little bit louder, like music?
Oh, I love music. A very useful sentence is, I like to listen to music.
Wait, David, let's pause for a second. That is a perfect sentence. But did you notice the little word you used in the middle? Many learners simply say, "I listen music."
Yes, I am guilty of that too. I always forgot the word to.
It is a very common mistake. In English, the word listen almost always needs the word to right after it. You listen to a podcast, you listen to a friend, and you listen to music.
That is a great rule to remember. Always add to. Let's ask our listeners to shadow the correct sentence right now. Listen and repeat. I like to listen to music.
Excellent. Now, speaking of all these fun activities, David, I think this is a perfect time to ask our listeners a question.
Oh, absolutely. We want to hear from you right now. What is your absolute favorite hobby? Do you play sports, go swimming, or listen to music? Pause the video and write your answer in the comments below.
I cannot wait to read what everyone likes to do. Now, after music, another very popular hobby is movies. A simple sentence is, I like to watch movies.
Let's practice that one together. Remember to use watch for things on a screen. I like to watch movies.
Movies are definitely a great way to relax. Now, after we talk about hobbies, another favorite topic to discuss with new friends is the weekend.
Oh, yes, everyone loves the weekend. A very natural question to ask is, what do you usually do on the weekend?
That is a perfect socializing question. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it right now. Listen and repeat. What do you usually do on the weekend?
When people ask me that, I usually say, I hang out with my friends.
Hanging out is a wonderful native-sounding phrase. It just means spending time together in a relaxed way, without a big plan. Let's practice that everyday sentence. I hang out with my friends.
But Emma, I have a confession. When I was a beginner, I used to tell my American friends, hanging out with you is very funny. They always laughed at me.
That is a classic mistake, David. The words fun and funny confuse almost every single English learner because they look so similar.
Absolutely. In my head, I just wanted to say I had a good time.
Here is the rule. If something makes you laugh out loud, like a comedy movie or a joke, it is funny. But if something is just enjoyable and makes you happy, like playing a sport or spending a weekend with friends, it is fun. You don't laugh the entire weekend, right?
That makes perfect sense. So a weekend with friends is not funny, it is just fun. Let's ask our listeners to shadow the correct sentence to describe a good time. It is very fun.
Great job! Now you won't make that confusing mistake. Sometimes, though, you don't go out on the weekend. Sometimes you just stay inside your house.
Yes, and there is a great sentence for that too. You can say, I stay at home and relax. Let's practice it together. I stay at home and relax.
Staying at home and relaxing is completely fine. But what if you want to leave the house and invite your new friend to do something with you?
Oh, making plans is so important for building a friendship. But Emma, I used to be so formal. I would walk up to a friend and say, I want to invite you to drink coffee with me. It sounded like a serious business meeting.
It really does sound a bit formal, David. The word invite is usually for big events, like a wedding or a birthday party. For a casual hangout, a much more natural and friendly way to ask is, would you like to get coffee sometime?
That sounds so much more relaxed and friendly. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this great invitation. Listen and repeat. Would you like to get coffee sometime?
Perfect. And if your new friend says yes, they will probably ask about your schedule. A simple question is, when are you free?
Let's practice that question together. When are you free?
Now, pay close attention to how you answer this. If you want to say you have time on the weekend, many learners make a small preposition mistake. They say, I am free in Saturday.
Ah, yes, the tricky prepositions. But I learned a golden rule for this. For days of the week, we never use the word in. We always use the word on.
Exactly, David. You are free on Saturday, on Sunday, or on Monday. Let's practice the correct sentence right now. I am free on Saturday.
And when you finally agree on a day, you can show your excitement by saying, "That sounds great." Let's shadow this happy response. "That sounds great."
When you say, "That sounds great," you have successfully made a plan. But before you walk away, you need a way to communicate with them later.
Yes, you need to exchange contact information. But Emma, I used to be very direct. I would just look at my new friend and say, "Give me your phone number."
Oh, David, that sounds like a police officer, not a new friend. It is grammatically correct, but it is way too strong and direct for casual socializing.
That's right. I learned that a much better, softer way to ask is using the word can. You should say, "Can I get your number?"
That is perfect. It is polite, soft, and very common. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this friendly question. Listen and repeat. Can I get your number?
Or nowadays, people often prefer social media instead of phone numbers. A very natural question is, "Are you on Instagram?" Let's practice that. "Are you on Instagram?"
Great! And when they give you their contact information, you can promise to send them a message later. A very natural, native sounding sentence is, "I will text you." Let's shadow this together. I will text you.
Now you are completely ready. You introduced yourself, talked about hobbies, made a weekend plan, and got their number. It is finally time to say a friendly goodbye.
A beautiful and simple way to leave the conversation is, "It was great talking to you. See you later." Let's shadow this friendly goodbye. It was great talking to you. See you later.
That was an amazing conversation from start to finish.
It really was. But David, before we finish today, do you remember what I promised our listeners at the very beginning of this challenge?
Oh, yes, the echo trick. I have been waiting for this. You said it helps keep any conversation alive when you don't know what to say.
Yes, I did. Sometimes your mind goes completely blank and you can't think of a new question. The echo trick is very simple. You just repeat the last 2 or 3 words the other person said, but you say them like a question.
Repeat their words? Can you give us a quick example?
Sure. Imagine your new friend says, "I went to a great restaurant yesterday." You just echo the end of the sentence and ask, "A great restaurant?" This makes them smile, shows you are listening, and makes them keep talking.
Wow, a great restaurant? That is so easy and smart. It gives your brain time to relax while they explain more. Let's ask our listeners to practice this trick right now. Imagine I say to you, "I bought a new book." What do you echo? Say it out loud.
If you said, "A new book," you did it perfectly. You can use this trick with anyone. Now, before we end day 3, it is time for our quick mini quiz to test your memory.
My favorite part. Let's see who was paying attention today. Earlier, we talked about getting contact information from a new friend. What is the correct, polite way to ask? Do we say, "Give me your number"? Or do we say, "Can I get your number"?
Think about the soft and friendly rule we discussed. Take a guess and say your answer out loud right now.
Time is up. If you said, "Can I get your number?" you are absolutely correct. Remember, saying, "Give me your number" is too strong and direct. Always use "can I" to be polite and friendly.
Amazing job, everyone. You learned so many great sentences today. Now you can introduce yourself, talk about your hobbies, and make weekend plans with new friends.
If you shadowed us today, you are doing incredible work. You are already sounding more natural, and your confidence is definitely growing.
It really is. And please remember to use the echo trick the next time you talk to someone. Just repeat their last words as a question. It will save you from those quiet, awkward moments.
Exactly. It is a lifesaver. Now, before we say goodbye for day 3, we want to ask you one final question.
Today was all about socializing and spending free time. So, if you meet a new English speaking friend tomorrow, what activity will you invite them to do with you?
Will you invite them to get coffee, play a sport, go shopping, or watch a movie? Go to the comments and tell us your plan in English right now. I will read and reply to your answers.
We cannot wait to read them and see your plans. Have a wonderful day, keep practicing, and we will see you tomorrow for day 4 of our Fluency Challenge.
Bye, everyone. Keep echoing and keep speaking.
Welcome back, everyone, to day 4 of our 7-day English Fluency Challenge. I am Emma.
And I am David. I hope you are feeling hungry today, Emma, because we are talking about one of my absolute favorite topics in the world: food.
I am always ready for food, David. Today, we are taking our listeners to a restaurant. Knowing how to confidently order a meal and talk to a waiter or waitress is an essential survival skill in English.
It really is. Have you ever looked at a menu and suddenly panicked when the waiter walked over to your table? Your mind goes blank and you forget all your English. We are going to fix that today.
That's right. We are going to practice the most common natural phrases you need so you can order your food with zero stress. And as always, we are using our powerful shadowing technique.
That means when you hear a key phrase, you need to speak out loud and copy our pronunciation and rhythm. Don't just listen. Train those speaking muscles.
And before we even walk into our imaginary restaurant today, I want to tease a little secret. Many English learners use the phrase I want when they order food. It is not necessarily wrong, but there is a much better, more polite phrase that native speakers use all the time.
Oh, I love this tip. It changes everything. We will reveal that magic phrase in just a moment, so stay with us. Okay, let's walk into our imaginary restaurant right now. The first thing that happens is the host greets you at the door. They will usually ask, how many in your party? Or a table for how many?
This is your first chance to speak. You don't need a long, complicated sentence. Just smile and say, "A table for 2, please." Let's shadow this together. Listen and repeat. "A table for 2, please."
Perfect. You can change the number depending on your group. A table for 4, please. Or a table for 1, please.
Now you are sitting at your comfortable table. You look at the menu and the waiter comes over. They will usually ask, "Are you ready to order?" or "What can I get for you today?"
This is the moment of panic I was talking about. This is when my brain used to freeze and I would just point at the menu and say, I want this. I want a burger. I want water.
And like we mentioned earlier, I want is perfectly understood. But to native English speakers, it can sound a little bit demanding or direct, almost like a hungry child.
Correct. Nobody wants to sound like a grumpy child at a nice restaurant. So, Emma, what is the polite magic phrase we promised our listeners?
The magic phrase is I would like. And to sound even more natural, fast, and fluent, use the contraction. I'd like.
I'd like. It sounds so much softer, more polite, and very professional. Let's practice replacing I want with I'd like. If you want a coffee, don't say I want a coffee. Listen and repeat the native way. I'd like a coffee, please.
Excellent. Adding please at the end makes it 100% perfect. Let's try one more for food. Imagine you are ordering lunch. Listen and shadow. I'd like the chicken sandwich, please.
Boom. Just like that, you are already sounding like a local.
Now that you know how to order politely, what happens if you don't understand something on the menu? Or what if everything looks good and you just can't decide?
That happens to me all the time. I stare at the menu for 10 minutes. But remember, instead of guessing or stressing out, it is completely normal and polite to ask the waiter for help.
Absolutely. Waiters know the menu best. A great natural question to ask is, could you recommend something? This shows you value their opinion. Let's shadow this together. Listen and repeat. Could you recommend something?
Great job! When you ask for a recommendation, you might discover a delicious new local dish that you would never have chosen yourself. Now, let's talk about the order of events. Usually, before you even order your food, the waiter will ask what you want to drink. They might say, "Can I start you off with something to drink?" Yes! And here is another fantastic native phrase for you. We already learned "I'd like," but there is a second phrase that native speakers use just as often. I'll have. It is short for I will have.
I'll have is perfectly natural and polite. Let's say you want some sparkling water to start. Listen and shadow this response. I'll have sparkling water, please.
Perfect pronunciation. I'll have and I'd like are your two best friends in a restaurant. You can use them interchangeably. You can say, I'll have the steak, or I'd like the steak. Both are wonderful.
Just don't say, I want the steak. Remember the grumpy child.
Exactly. Keep it polite. But what happens if you have a special request? Like, what if you are allergic to something, or you want your sauce on the side? We are going to tackle those tricky situations next.
All right, so you know how to order your food using I'd like and I'll have. But let's be honest, sometimes the menu isn't exactly what you want. Maybe you want a salad, but you don't want the dressing mixed in.
That is a very common situation. In English, when you want an ingredient served in a separate little dish next to your meal, we use the phrase on the side.
Exactly. So instead of trying to explain, please put the sauce in a different cup, you can simply say, can I get the sauce on the side? Let's shadow this important request. Listen and repeat. Can I get the dressing on the side, please?
Brilliant! You can use this for anything. Can I get the fries on the side? Or can I get the butter on the side? It is so useful.
Now, let's talk about something even more important. Food allergies and dietary restrictions. If eating a certain food makes you sick, you must know how to tell the waiter clearly.
Yes, safety comes first. The standard, clear way to express this is to say, I am allergic to, and then name the food. For example, peanuts, shellfish, or dairy.
Let's practice this one carefully because it is so important. Imagine you cannot eat nuts. Listen and shadow. I am allergic to nuts.
Very well done. If you want to be extra careful before you order, you can ask the waiter a direct question about the ingredients. You can ask, does this contain, followed by the food you can't eat.
Let's practice that question. Listen and repeat. Does this contain dairy?
Excellent! Now you are in complete control of your order. You can get exactly what you want, safely and politely.
So your food arrives, it looks delicious, and you eat a wonderful meal. But what happens when you are finished? How do you get the waiter's attention? And more importantly, how do you pay?
Nobody wants to be stuck in a restaurant forever. We are going to teach you the smoothest ways to wrap up your meal and ask for the bill. Right after this.
So you finished your delicious meal. You're full, and it's time to head home. But the restaurant is crowded, and your waiter is busy. How do you get their attention politely?
Well, first, let me tell you what not to do. Please do not snap your fingers or yell, "Waiter!" across the room. That is considered very rude in English-speaking cultures.
Yes, definitely avoid that. The best way is to make eye contact as they walk by. Smile, raise your hand just a little bit, and simply say, "Excuse me."
It's simple but highly effective. Let's practice that quick attention grabber. Listen and shadow. Excuse me?
Perfect. Now, what if the portion was huge and you couldn't finish your food? In many English-speaking countries, especially the US and Canada, it's very common and perfectly normal to take your leftover food home with you.
Oh, I love having leftovers for lunch the next day.
You don't need to learn a complicated sentence for this. You can just point to your plate and ask, "Can I get a box for this?"
Let's practice that incredibly useful phrase. Listen and shadow. Can I get a box for this, please?
Awesome! Now, the final step, paying for your meal. Depending on where you are traveling, the vocabulary changes just a tiny bit. In American English, we usually ask for the check. In British English, they ask for the bill.
Both words are perfectly fine and will be understood everywhere. Let's practice asking for it politely. Listen and repeat. Could we get the check, please?
Great job! And now let's try the British variation. Shadow this. Could we have the bill, please?
You did it! You successfully walked into an English-speaking restaurant, asked for a table, ordered politely, made special requests, and paid the bill. You are officially ready to dine out.
Which brings us to our Day 4 challenge. We want you to use what you learned right now in the comments section. Imagine you are at your absolute favorite restaurant. What are you ordering?
Write your order in the comments using our native magic phrases, I'd like or I'll have. For example, type, I'd like a large pizza and a lemonade, please. We can't wait to read your delicious orders.
Great job today, everyone. Tomorrow is day 5, and we are hitting the streets. We will learn how to ask for directions confidently so you never get lost again. See you then.
Welcome back, explorers, to day 5 of our 7-day English Fluency Challenge. I am Emma.
And I am David. Today is going to be such a fun episode because we are stepping outside, putting our phones away, and exploring the city.
That is right. Today is all about asking for directions. But we are adding a very special twist. We aren't just going to look for boring train stations or banks. Today, we're going to get wonderfully lost and ask locals how to find the best hidden gems and street food.
That is my favorite way to travel. Sometimes getting lost is the best way to discover amazing places. But if you don't speak the language, getting lost can be really scary.
Exactly. That is why we are going to practice the exact sentences you need to confidently stop a stranger, ask for help, and follow their instructions. And of course, we are using our shadowing technique. When you hear us say a sentence, repeat it out loud immediately.
Copy our rhythm and our pronunciation. Build that muscle memory.
And before we hit the streets, I want to share a quick secret about American culture. Many English learners use the word sorry when they want to stop a stranger on the street to ask a question. But native speakers rarely use that word for this situation.
Really? I used to say, sorry, where is the museum all the time. I thought I was being polite.
I will tell you exactly why that sounds a little unnatural to native ears and what magic word you should use instead in just a few minutes.
I can't wait to learn that. All right, let's pretend we are standing on a busy street corner in New York and we are completely lost. Let's go.
All right, here is the secret. When you say sorry on the street, native speakers immediately think you did something wrong, like you stepped on their foot or bumped into them.
I see. So sorry is for when you make a mistake. But what should we use instead?
If you just want to politely get someone's attention, the perfect magic phrase is, excuse me. It is friendly, polite, and completely natural.
That makes so much sense. Sorry is an apology, but excuse me means please look at me. Let's practice that. Listen and repeat out loud. Excuse me.
Beautiful. Now that the stranger has stopped walking and is looking at you, you need to explain your problem. You don't need to be embarrassed. Just say, I am lost. Can you help me?
That is so simple and direct. Let's put it all together. Listen and shadow. Excuse me, I am lost. Can you help me?
Perfect. Most people are very happy to help tourists. Now, if you are looking for a specific place, like a great spot to eat, you don't need a complicated long sentence. Just use our magic phrase and ask, "Where is?"
Yes! Let's ask about the food. You can simply say, "Excuse me, where is the nearest street food market?"
I love that question. Let's practice it together. Remember to copy the rhythm. Listen and repeat. Excuse me, where is the nearest street food market? Great job! Now the stranger is going to tell you exactly where to go. But listening to directions in English can be very confusing. They use words like blocks, straight, and across. Don't worry. In the next part, we will teach you the 3 most important direction words you need to listen for, so you know exactly which way to walk.
When a local gives you directions, the first thing they usually tell you to do is keep walking in the same direction. They will say, "Go straight."
This is our first very important direction phrase. Listen and repeat out loud. Go straight.
Good. But they won't just say, "Go straight." They will tell you how far to walk. And here is where many tourists get completely confused. Native speakers, especially in America, rarely use meters or kilometers for walking. We use the word blocks.
Oh, yes. When I first heard a local tell me to walk 2 blocks, I started looking at the ground for square stones or children's toy blocks. I had no idea what it meant.
It is a very natural mistake. A block is simply the section of a building or street between 2 intersecting roads. Every time you walk and cross a new street, that is 1 block. So if they say, "Go straight for 2 blocks," you walk, cross 1 street, and then stop at the 2nd street.
That makes navigation so much easier. You just count the streets. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this full native-sounding sentence. Listen and repeat. Go straight for 2 blocks.
Excellent. Now, after you go straight, you usually need to change your direction. The phrases are very simple. Turn left and turn right.
Let's practice both of them right now. Copy our rhythm. First, listen and repeat. Turn left.
Perfect. And now the other way. Listen and shadow. Turn right.
So now we know how to ask for help, go straight, and turn. But how do we know when we have finally arrived at the street food market?
Now that you have gone straight and turned the corner, the local person will tell you exactly what building your destination is near. This is where we use location words.
Yes, and one of the most useful phrases is next to. If the street food market is right beside a bank, they will say it is next to the bank.
Let's practice that. Copy the rhythm. Listen and shadow. It is next to the bank.
Beautiful. But Emma, I used to mix up my tiny words here all the time. I would say it is near to the bank, or I would say it is next from the bank.
That is a very common mix-up, David. The prepositions can be tricky. Here is the easy rule. The word near does not need the word to. You just say near the bank. And the word next is always best friends with to. They stay together. Next to.
That makes it so much easier to remember. Always next to. Now, what if the market is on the other side of the street? What if you have to cross the road to get your food?
In that case, native speakers use the phrase across from. For example, if there is a park on your side, they will say it is across from the park.
This is a very important phrase to know so you don't get lost. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it right now. Listen and repeat. It is across from the park.
Excellent. If you know next to and across from, you will always find exactly what you are looking for.
And usually, the local person will finish their directions with one very friendly, very common phrase to tell you that it is impossible to make a mistake.
That is exactly right, David. Usually, when a local gives you great directions, they want to give you confidence. So they will finish by saying you can't miss it.
The first time someone said that to me, I thought it was a challenge. I thought, watch me, I can definitely make a mistake and miss it.
It is a very funny phrase if you translate it literally, but it simply means the building or the food market is very big, very colorful, or very easy to see. It means it is obvious.
It is a classic native phrase. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it together. Listen and repeat. You can't miss it.
Awesome! Now, speaking of getting lost and finding things, we are very curious about you, our listeners.
Yes, we want to ask you a quick question right now. Are you the kind of person who has a natural GPS in your brain, or do you get lost easily?
Pause the video and tell us the truth in the comments below. Just type, "I never get lost," or "I always get lost."
I will be the first to admit I always get lost without my phone. Go write your comment right now and let's see how many explorers we have watching.
Okay, let's imagine you followed the directions perfectly. You found the street food market and it smells absolutely amazing. There are so many small shops and carts.
But because it is a new country, you don't know what any of the food is. You see people eating delicious things on sticks, but there is no menu. How do you ask what you are eating?
The easiest way to start is to just point at the food that looks delicious and ask a very simple question. What is this?
Yes, it is short, direct, and perfect. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it. Listen and repeat. What is in this?
Great! But sometimes the name of the food doesn't tell you anything. If the vendor says it is a samosa or it is a churro, you might still wonder what you are actually eating.
Absolutely. I need to know if it is meat, vegetables, or something completely crazy. So, how do we politely ask about the ingredients?
You don't need to use the big word ingredients. A very natural, native-sounding question is simply, what is in this?
That is so easy to remember and say. Let's shadow that together. Copy our rhythm. Listen and repeat. What is in this?
Excellent. And if you are traveling to a place like Mexico, India, or Thailand, and you don't like very hot food, you must ask one more question before you buy it. You should ask, is it spicy?
Oh, that is a survival question right there. My mouth has been on fire too many times because I forgot to ask that. Let's practice it. Listen and shadow. Is it spicy?
Beautiful. Now you know exactly what you are ordering. You know it isn't too spicy, and you are ready to buy your delicious street food.
I can practically taste the food right now. Let's buy it and find a nice place to sit.
The food smells amazing. You know exactly what it is, and you made sure it isn't too spicy. Now you just have to pay for it.
The most important part. But Emma, I remember my first time buying street food. I held up the delicious food and asked the vendor, "How many is this?" He looked very confused.
That is a great mistake to talk about. We use how many for things we can easily count one by one, like apples or chairs. But when we ask about a price, we are talking about an uncountable concept, value or money. So we must always use how much.
Exactly. So the perfect, simple question is, how much is this? Let's ask our listeners to shadow it right now. Listen and repeat. How much is this?
Great job! Now you have paid for your delicious food, but street markets are usually very crowded. You look around and there are no completely empty tables.
Yes, that always happens. You usually have to share a table with strangers, but you can't just walk up and sit down silently. That can seem very rude.
Right. You need to politely ask if the empty chair belongs to someone else. A very natural, native-sounding question is this seat taken?
I love that phrase. It is so polite. Let's practice it.
Imagine you are pointing to an empty chair next to a local person. Listen and shadow. Is this seat taken?
Perfect. If they smile and say no, you can sit down, relax, and finally eat your amazing meal.
Sitting at a table with locals is also a great chance to make new friends. And since they are eating too, you might want to wish them a good meal.
Now that you are sitting with the locals and everyone has their beautiful food ready, it is a great time to be polite before you start eating.
Yes, in many cultures, it is very important to wish everyone a good meal. But when I was a beginner, I tried to translate my language directly into English. I looked at my friends and said, "Have a good eating."
Have a good eating is very cute, David, but it definitely sounds a little strange to a native speaker. Sometimes English speakers borrow the French phrase bon appetit, but the most natural English phrase is simply enjoy your meal.
That is so polite and easy to say. Let's ask our listeners to practice this right now. Listen and shadow. Enjoy your meal.
Perfect. Or if you want to be even more casual and fast, you can just smile and say one word, enjoy.
I love that. Okay, so you say enjoy, you take your first bite of the street food, and your eyes go wide. It is the best thing you have ever eaten. You want to tell the vendor or your table how good it is.
It is always wonderful to compliment the chef. Many learners try to describe the flavor by saying it has a good taste. While people will understand you, native speakers usually use taste as an action word here. We say, this tastes amazing.
Let's practice that native-sounding sentence together. Listen and repeat. This tastes amazing.
Excellent. Another great word is delicious. But be careful here. A very common mistake is saying it is very delicious. The word delicious is already 100% strong, so adding very sounds unnatural.
Ah, yes. I remember learning that rule. Instead of very, we should use words like really or absolutely.
Correct. Let's practice the natural way. Listen and shadow. This is absolutely delicious.
Now you are a true street food expert. You found the market, you ordered perfectly, and you are having a wonderful conversation about the amazing food.
That was such a wonderful adventure today. We navigated the city, found a hidden street food market, and even made some local friends.
It really was the perfect day. But before we completely finish day 5, we need to make sure our listeners remember the most important lessons. It is time for our daily mini quiz.
Let's see who was paying close attention today. Earlier, we talked about buying food from a vendor. Imagine you are holding a delicious, hot snack and you want to know the price.
Think carefully. What is the correct native-sounding question to ask? Do you ask, how many is this? Or do you ask, how much is this?
Remember the rule we discussed about counting things versus talking about money and value. Make your choice and say your answer out loud right now.
If you said, "How much is this?" you are absolutely correct. Always remember, we use how much for prices and money because value is uncountable.
Amazing job today, everyone. You learned so much. You can now politely ask a stranger for help, understand native directions, and order incredible street food.
If you shadowed our sentences today, you are one huge step closer to traveling the world with total confidence. You don't need to stare at your phone map all day anymore.
That is the beauty of learning English. It connects you with real people and real experiences. Now, before we say goodbye for day 5, we have one final question for you.
Imagine you successfully found the best street food market in a new country. What is the very first thing you are ordering to eat?
Are you getting spicy noodles, a huge burger, or maybe some sweet churros? Go to the comments and tell us your dream street food order in English right now.
I am getting hungry just thinking about it.
I will be reading and replying to your delicious answers in the comments.
Have a fantastic day of practicing. Stay curious, and we will see you tomorrow for day 6 of our Fluency Challenge.
Bye, everyone. Keep exploring and keep speaking.
Welcome back, everyone, to day 6 of our 7-day English Fluency Challenge. I am Emma.
And I am David. We are almost at the end of our challenge, and today is going to be incredibly useful and a lot of fun, especially if you love shopping.
Exactly. Today, we are taking you to a local market to buy clothes and souvenirs. But we are not just buying things. We are going to teach you a very special skill, how to negotiate the price and get a great discount.
Oh, I really needed this lesson a few years ago. When I first started traveling, I was a walking tourist trap. I paid full price for absolutely everything because I was too shy to speak up.
It happens to almost everyone, David. Bargaining and asking for a lower price in a new language can feel very scary. You don't want to sound rude, but you also don't want to pay too much money.
That is exactly why today is so important. We are going to practice the polite phrases you need to bring the price down, and even what to say if you buy something and realize it is broken.
And just like every day, we are using our powerful shadowing technique. Do not just sit and listen to us in silence. When you hear the English sentence, repeat it out loud immediately. You have to train your mouth to make these new sounds.
Speaking of sounding polite, I used to make a terrible mistake when I wanted a discount. I would hold up an item, look at the shop owner, and say, "This is too expensive. Make it cheap."
Oh no, David, that is extremely direct. If you say that, the shop owner might ask you to leave.
Yes, they did not look very happy.
Don't worry, everyone. I am going to teach you the perfect magic phrase to ask for a lower price politely, with a smile. Let's walk into our first shop and start practicing. Now, when you see something you like behind the counter or hanging up high, you need to ask the shop owner to show it to you.
A very polite and easy way to ask is, "Could I see that, please?" It is much better than just pointing and saying, "Give me that."
That's right. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this polite request right now. Listen carefully and repeat. Could I see that, please?
Perfect. Now, let's imagine the shop owner hands you the shirt, but it looks a little bit too small for you.
You don't need to learn a complicated sentence to ask for a new size. You just ask, do you have this in a medium? Or do you have this in a large?
Let's practice asking for a size. Listen and shadow. Do you have this in a medium?
Excellent. Now, what if you are shopping for something for your lower body? David, I hear a very common mistake here all the time.
Let me guess. Is it when people say, "I want to buy a new pant," or "I am looking for a blue jean"?
Yes, it makes sense logically because you are only buying one item. But in English, clothing with 2 legs is always plural. You must always add an S at the end.
That is a golden rule. So we never say a pant or a short. We say pants, jeans, and shorts.
Right. If you want to talk about just one item, you have to use the phrase a pair of. Let's practice this so you never make that mistake again. Listen and repeat. I would like a pair of jeans.
Great job. So now you have the right size and you have chosen a beautiful pair of jeans. It is time for the most important part, asking for the price.
All right, I have the perfect pair of jeans in my hands. Now I need to know the price. Yesterday we learned the perfect question for this. I will just ask the owner, "How much is this?"
Wait, David. Stop right there. Think about the golden rule we literally just talked about. Jeans have 2 legs.
Oh, you caught me! I completely forgot. Because jeans are plural, I cannot use the word is, and I cannot use the word this.
Correct. you must use the plural words. So instead of how much is this, you must ask how much are these?
That makes perfect sense. Let's make sure our listeners do not make my mistake. Let's shadow the correct plural question. Listen and repeat. How much are these?
Great job. So you ask the question, and the shop owner looks at you and says, they are $60.
$60 for a pair of jeans at a local street market? That is definitely the tourist price.
It absolutely is. And this is exactly when you need to start bargaining. But remember my warning from earlier. We do not point and say, make it cheap.
Right. We want to be friendly and polite, so the owner actually wants to help us. So what is the best magic phrase to ask for a lower price?
A wonderful, soft, and very common question is simply, can you give me a discount? It is clear, but it is not aggressive.
I love that. It is so easy to remember. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this extremely useful phrase. Listen and repeat. Can you give me a discount?
Perfect. If you say that with a nice smile, the shop owner will almost always lower the price for you.
Now we are saving money. But what if their new price is still a little bit too high? There has to be another phrase we can use to push it just a little lower. So, can you give me a discount is a great start. But what if the shop owner only lowers the price by $1 single? I want a real discount.
You are a very tough negotiator, David. If you want to push them just a little bit more, a very natural and common native question is that your best price?
Ooh, is that your best price? It sounds very confident, but still polite. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this power phrase. Listen and repeat. Is that your best price? Great! Now, if the owner says, yes, that is my best price, but you still think it is too expensive, it is time for the ultimate bargaining secret. We call it the walkaway. Yes, the walkaway. This is my absolute favorite trick in the world. You don't get angry and you don't argue. You just smile, put the jeans down, and slowly start to leave the shop.
That's right. But you don't just walk away in complete silence. That would be a little rude. You should say a very specific, polite phrase. You simply say, I think I will look around. Thank you.
Let's practice that perfect, polite exit sentence. Listen and shadow. I think I will look around. Thank you.
Excellent. And what usually happens when you start walking towards the door, David?
Almost every single time, before you even reach the door, the shop owner will call you back. They will say, okay, my friend, I will give it to you for $30. It works like absolute magic.
It really does. Now you have a beautiful new pair of jeans for half the price. But the shopping trip isn't over yet. Sometimes after you pay, you realize there is a problem. Let's imagine you bought the jeans and you are very happy. But when you look closely, you see a small problem. There is a hole near the pocket.
Oh, I hate when that happens. When I was a beginner, I got so nervous. I walked back to the owner and said, "This is broken. Give me my money."
That is definitely too aggressive, David. And there is a small vocabulary mistake there, too. We usually do not say clothes are broken. We use broken for things like phones, glasses, or toys.
Ah, I see. So how do I describe the problem with clothes?
For clothes, it is much more natural to say it has a hole. Or if there is a dirty spot, you say it has a stain.
That is a great rule to remember. Let's practice the polite way to point out the problem. Remember our magic phrase for getting attention. Listen and repeat. Excuse me, this has a hole in it.
Excellent. Now, before we teach you how to ask for a new pair of jeans, we are very curious about our listeners.
Yes! We have a quick question for you right now. Have you ever bought something at a market and realized it had a hole or a stain after you went home?
Pause the video and tell us your funny or frustrating shopping stories in the comments below. We love reading about your experiences.
I have too many stories like that. Go write your comment right now. Okay, Emma, so the shop owner sees the hole. How do I ask for a different pair of jeans politely?
You don't want to say, "Give me another one." The perfect native sounding phrase is, "Can I exchange this, please?"
Exchange is a great word here. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this polite request. Listen and repeat. Can I exchange this, please?
So you politely ask to exchange the jeans, but what if the shop owner looks in the back room and says, "Sorry, we don't have any more in your size"?
That is exactly what happened to me once in a shoe store. I didn't want a different color, I just wanted my money back so I could go to a different shop. But I didn't know the right English word. I just pointed at the counter and said, "Give me my cash."
Give me my cash is definitely a little too demanding, David. When you return an item and want your money back, the native vocabulary word you need is a refund.
Refund. It is an incredibly important word for travelers to know. So, what is the best sentence to use?
You can keep it very simple and use the polite question format we learned earlier. Just say, "Could I get a refund, please?"
Let's practice this money-saving phrase right now. Shadow my voice. Listen and repeat. Could I get a refund, please?
Excellent job. But we need to warn you about something very common in street markets and small shops. The owner might cross their arms and say, "Sorry, no refunds."
Yes, I have seen no refunds signs all over the world. It means once you pay the money, they will never give the cash back to you.
Exactly. If they say no refunds, you shouldn't get angry or argue, because it is usually their official store policy. But they will almost always offer you a different solution instead of giving your cash back.
A different solution? Like letting you choose a completely different item from the store?
Exactly. And there is a specific English phrase for that, which is very useful to know. The phrase is store credit. This means the shop keeps your money, but they give you a special card or a stamped receipt. You can use that store credit to buy anything else in their shop, today or later on.
Ah, that is a very fair solution. So if the jeans have a hole and they have no more jeans in my size, I can use my store credit to buy a nice jacket or a shirt instead.
That's right. If the owner says no refunds, you can politely suggest this idea. You simply ask, "Can I get store credit?"
This is a fantastic backup plan to know. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it right now. Copy my rhythm. Listen and repeat. Can I get store credit?
Beautiful. Now, what if you don't want to buy anything else for yourself? Well, you still have to buy gifts for your family and friends back home.
Oh, buying gifts is my absolute favorite part of traveling. It is a great feeling to bring a little piece of a new country back to the people you love. In English, we call these small travel gifts souvenirs.
Yes, souvenirs. It is originally a French word, so the pronunciation can be a little bit tricky for English learners. The emphasis is on the very last part of the word, souvenir.
Let's practice saying that in a full, natural sentence. Imagine you walk into a new shop. Listen and shadow. I want to buy some souvenirs.
Great job. But usually, souvenir shops are packed with thousands of tiny items. Keychains, magnets, mugs, t-shirts. It can be overwhelming.
It really is. Sometimes you have no idea what the best thing to buy is. So how do we ask the shop owner for a good idea?
When a shop has too many things, the best thing to do is ask the local expert, the shop owner. They know exactly what everyone is buying.
Yes, And instead of saying, what is good, which is a little too simple, there is a much better question. You can ask, what is popular here?
That is a fantastic question. Popular means many people like it and buy it. It tells the owner you want something special.
Let's practice that question so you can use it on your next trip. Listen and shadow. What is popular here?
Perfect. So let's say the owner shows you some beautiful handmade coffee mugs. You love them so much that you want to buy one for your mother, one for your brother, and one for your best friend.
Oh, this is the perfect time for another bargaining secret. When you buy more than one item, you have a lot of power to ask for a better price. In English, we call this a bulk discount.
Bulk simply means a large amount or multiple items. Shop owners love when you buy in bulk, so they are usually very happy to lower the price for you.
Absolutely. So you hold up the 3 coffee mugs, smile at the owner, and use this native phrase. If I buy 3, can you give me a better price?
I love that phrase. It is friendly, logical, and it almost always works. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this money-saving sentence.
Copy my rhythm. Listen and repeat. If I buy 3, can you give me a better price?
Amazing job! Now you have 3 beautiful souvenirs for your family, and you saved even more money. You are shopping exactly like a smart local.
I am so proud of everyone listening today. You navigated a bustling market, returned a damaged item, and negotiated some amazing deals.
That was such a successful shopping trip today. We learned how to find the right size, negotiate like a pro, and even deal with returns.
I definitely feel ready to hit the local markets now. But before we finish day 6, it is time to test our listeners with our daily mini quiz.
Let's see who remembers our very important grammar rule from today. Imagine you are holding a great pair of blue jeans, and you want to ask the shop owner for the price.
Think carefully. Do you ask, how much is this? Or do you ask, how much are these?
Make your choice and say your answer out loud right now.
If you said, how much are these? You are absolutely right. Always remember, clothes with 2 legs, like pants, shorts, and jeans, are always plural in English.
Fantastic job today, everyone. You learned so many powerful phrases. You can now shop anywhere in the world, get amazing discounts, and handle any problem politely.
You are sounding more confident every single day. We are so proud of the hard work you are doing with this shadowing challenge.
And now, before we say goodbye, we have one final question for you.
Imagine you have a free plane ticket and you can go shopping in any country in the world tomorrow. Where are you going and what are you buying?
Are you buying leather shoes in Italy, electronics in Japan, or beautiful rugs in Morocco? Go to the comments and tell us your dream shopping trip in English right now.
I can't wait to read your answers. I think I would go buy a nice watch in Switzerland.
Have a wonderful day. Keep practicing your new phrases, and we will see you tomorrow for day 7, the grand finale of our Fluency Challenge.
Bye, everyone. Keep speaking and stay confident.
Welcome back, everyone, to day 7, the grand finale of our 7-day English Fluency Challenge. I am Emma.
And I am David. I cannot believe we made it to day 7. I am so proud of everyone who has practiced with us and shadowed our voices every single day.
You should be very proud. We have covered airports, restaurants, shopping, and asking for directions. You now have all the survival skills. But today, we are talking about the ultimate goal, the holy grail of learning English.
The Holy Grail? You mean the absolute most important thing?
That's right. Today, we are learning how to have a real, natural conversation. We are going to practice how to express your feelings, share your opinions, and most importantly, how to stop translating in your head.
Oh, this is the biggest challenge of all. When I was a beginner, someone would ask me a simple question, and my brain would freeze. I had to translate their English into my native language, build my answer, and then translate it back to English. It was so slow.
That is incredibly common, David. It creates those quiet, awkward moments in a conversation. But true fluency is not about knowing every single dictionary word. It is about reacting naturally and confidently.
That is what actually connects you with people and helps you make real friends. And today, we are going to build that fast reaction muscle memory using our shadowing technique. When you hear the phrase, repeat it out loud instantly.
And before we dive into our first deep conversation today, I am going to teach you a native secret weapon. I will show you how to use native filler words to buy yourself time to think in English without sounding nervous or confused.
I absolutely love native secrets. Let's get right into it. Imagine we are sitting in a cozy coffee shop talking to a brand new friend. Let's go.
Okay, imagine we are in that cozy coffee shop. Your new friend asks you a question, and your brain suddenly starts to panic. You want to translate the question to your language. Before you do that, you need to use a filler phrase.
A filler phrase? Is that like saying or Because I do that a lot when I am nervous.
Everyone says, David, but there are much better, more natural phrases that native speakers use all the time. These phrases mean almost nothing, but they give your brain 3 extra seconds to find the English words.
3 extra seconds is a lot of time in a conversation. What is the best phrase to use?
My absolute favorite one is very simple. Just smile, look at the person, and say, "That is a really good question. Let me think."
Oh, I love that. It makes the other person feel smart and it gives you total control to build your sentence without translating. Let's ask our listeners to shadow this lifesaver phrase. Listen and repeat. That is a really good question. Let me think.
Excellent. Another very short and native sounding trick is simply starting your sentence with the word, well, or the phrase, you know.
Yes, native speakers use you know all the time. It is the ultimate thinking phrase. Let's practice it. Listen and shadow. Well, you know.
Perfect. Now you have the tools to pause a conversation without feeling awkward. Your brain is calm and you are ready to speak.
So we bought ourselves some time. Now, how do we actually start a deep conversation? I am so tired of just talking about the weather.
Talking about the weather is called small talk. It is safe, but it is boring. To have a deep conversation and make real friends, you must use open-ended questions.
Ah, right. An open-ended question is a question that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no.
Correct. If you ask your new friend, "Do you like movies?" they will just say, "Yes, I do." And then silence. The conversation dies.
That is the worst feeling. So how do we fix it?
You change the first word of your question. Instead of "do you," use words like what, how, and why. Let's practice a great open-ended question to ask a new friend about their life. Listen and shadow. What do you like to do for fun?
Great job. Now they have to give you a real answer. They might say, I love painting, or I enjoy hiking.
And when they give you their answer, you have the perfect opportunity to go deeper. You use the most powerful word in any conversation. Why?
Yes, but just saying why can sometimes sound a little bit like a police interrogation. A much softer, friendlier way to ask is, why is that?
Why is that is a beautiful native phrase. It shows you are truly interested in their feelings. Let's shadow this very powerful question. Listen and repeat. Why is that?
Amazing. With just those 3 words, you are inviting them to tell you a story.
And telling stories is exactly what fluency is all about. But What if they ask you a deep question? How do you explain your own feelings in English?
It can be very scary to share your deep feelings in a new language. You have to find the right vocabulary, and you worry about making a grammar mistake in front of your new friend.
Exactly. I used to do something terrible. When someone asked me a deep question, I would panic and just say, I don't know. I missed so many chances to connect with people just because I was afraid.
That breaks my heart, David. People want to hear your unique thoughts. And here is a secret. Native speakers do not care about your grammar mistakes when you are telling a good story. They only care about your message.
That is 100% true. So, how do we start sharing our opinion without freezing? What is a good opening phrase?
A perfect, very natural phrase to start your opinion is to be honest. It tells the listener that you are about to share a real personal feeling.
And it gives you another second to think without translating. I use this one all the time. Let's ask our listeners to shadow it. Listen and repeat. To be honest.
Beautiful. Now let's connect it to a feeling. Instead of just saying a boring fact like, I like painting, you can add some emotion. You can say, to be honest, painting makes me feel really relaxed.
Let's practice that full emotional sentence. Copy my rhythm. Listen and shadow. To be honest, painting makes me feel really relaxed.
Great job! You just shared a real piece of yourself. But what if you were talking about a difficult topic and you're not 100% sure how to explain it?
When you are talking about a difficult topic like relationships or your future, you might not have a perfect answer. Sometimes you just have a mixed emotion or a general thought.
Right. And if you say, I think, it can sometimes sound a little too strong, like it is a strict fact. You don't want to sound like you know everything.
Exactly. So when native speakers want to soften their opinion and sound more open-minded, they use a beautiful phrase. I feel like.
Oh, I feel like is a game changer. You can put almost any sentence after it, and it suddenly sounds so natural and deep.
Let's practice this. Imagine you are talking about a movie, and it wasn't terrible, but it was just missing something. Listen and shadow. I feel like it could be better.
Perfect! You sound so thoughtful. Let's try one more about life. Listen and repeat. I feel like I need a vacation.
Great job! You will hear native speakers use I feel like hundreds of times a day. Now, speaking of deep thoughts and feelings, we want to pause for a second and hear from you, our amazing listeners.
Yes, we are curious. What is the hardest topic for you to talk about in English? Is it talking about your job, explaining your feelings, or maybe discussing politics?
Pause the video right now and tell us in the comments. Just type, for me, the hardest topic is, we are a safe space here, and we read every single comment.
I will definitely be replying to you down there. Okay, so now we know how to share our own opinions. But Emma, a real conversation is like a game of tennis, right?
That is a great example, David. You hit the ball, and then they hit it back. You cannot just talk about yourself the whole time. You have to show that you are actually listening to them.
You are completely right about the tennis game, Emma. When I was a beginner, I would just stare at the person, nod my head, and say, yes, yes, for 10 minutes straight.
If you only say yes, the other person might think you don't actually understand them. To keep the conversation alive, you need to use active listening phrases.
Active listening? You mean showing them that I am paying attention to their story?
That's right. If they tell you something that is logical or easy to understand, you shouldn't just say, okay. A beautiful, very common native phrase is, that makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense. It makes the speaker feel very validated and understood.
Let's ask our listeners to shadow this excellent phrase. Listen and repeat. That makes sense.
Excellent. Now, what if they share a deeper opinion with you? To show that you deeply respect their thoughts, you can say, I see what you mean.
I see what you mean. That is so much warmer and more natural than just saying, I understand. Let's practice it together. Copy my rhythm. Listen and shadow. I see what you mean.
Perfect. And if they tell you something surprising, funny, or exciting, you don't even need a full sentence. You just need to use your emotion. Saying, really? Or, no way, with a big smile is perfect active listening.
It is all about the energy you give back to them. So we reacted to their story. We hit the tennis ball back. But what if we want to hear more? How do we ask them to keep talking? So we showed our friend that we are listening, and we reacted to their story. But sometimes they finish talking, and there is that awkward silence again. What do we do?
That is the perfect time for a follow-up question. A follow-up question is when you ask for more details about the exact same topic. It proves you are truly interested in them.
I used to be so bad at this. Someone would tell me they traveled to France, and I would just say, wow, cool. And then the conversation would completely die because I had nothing else to say.
Exactly. Instead of letting the conversation die, you can use one of the most friendly, magical phrases in the English language. You just say, tell me more about that.
Tell me more about that. It is so inviting. It's not even a real question. It's like giving them permission to keep telling their story.
Yes, people love it when you want to hear more about their lives. Let's ask our listeners to practice this beautiful phrase. Copy my rhythm. Listen and shadow. Tell me more about that.
Perfect. And you can be very specific too. If they say they love to cook, you don't have to think of a brand new topic. You just say, tell me more about the food you cook.
Let's shadow that specific example right now. Listen and repeat. Tell me more about the food you cook.
Great job. Now your new friend is talking again, and you're having a real, deep conversation without stressing your brain.
But to truly stop translating in your head forever, you have to do something that happens when you are completely alone. It is a daily habit that will change your English forever. We have talked a lot about how to speak with other people today, but the absolute fastest way to stop translating in your head is a habit you build completely alone. We call it self-talk.
Oh, self-talk. I used to do this all the time. My family thought I was going crazy because I was always whispering to myself in English.
It might feel a little silly at first, but it is pure magic for your fluency. Self-talk simply means you narrate your daily actions. You describe exactly what you are doing, out loud, like you are the star of a movie.
Exactly. It forces your brain to skip the translation step. Instead of making your morning coffee in silence, you look at the coffee maker and say out loud, I am making coffee right now.
Let's practice that simple action. Imagine you are standing in your kitchen. Listen and shadow. I am making coffee right now.
Excellent. You connect the physical action directly to the English words. Let's try another one. When you leave your house, you don't just leave in silence. You say to yourself, I am locking the door.
Build that muscle memory. Listen and repeat. I am locking the door.
If you do this for just 5 minutes every single day, I promise you, within a few weeks, your brain will start dreaming and thinking completely in English. You won't even need to try.
It is the ultimate secret to natural fluency. Now, you have all the tools you need to have a deep conversation and think like a native speaker. That was such an amazing final lesson. You now have the tools to pause, listen, react, and share your deepest thoughts without translating a single word.
I am so incredibly proud of everyone. But before we celebrate the end of our 7-day challenge, we have to do our very last mini quiz.
Let's see if you remember our secret for starting deep conversations. Imagine you are sitting next to a new friend and you want to know about their hobbies. You don't want to make boring small talk.
Think carefully. Which is the better question to ask? Do you ask, do you like music? Or do you ask, what kind of music do you like?
Remember the rule about open-ended questions. Make your choice and say your answer out loud right now.
If you said, what kind of music do you like? You are absolutely right. Starting questions with what, how, or why forces the other person to tell you a real story.
Everyone, take a deep breath. You have successfully completed the 7-day English Fluency Challenge. We practiced airports, hotels, shopping, directions, and deep conversations.
You showed up every single day. You shadowed our voices and you trained your brain. You are no longer just a student. You are an English speaker.
Learning a language is a beautiful journey, and this is just the beginning. We want to celebrate with you right now.
Yes! For our final question, we want to know, how do you feel after completing all 7 days?
Are you feeling more confident? Did you discover a new favorite phrase? Go to the comments right now. Type, "I finished the 7 days," and tell us your thoughts in English.
We are going to read and reply to every single comment to celebrate your huge success. Thank you so much for joining us on this amazing adventure.
Keep using your daily self-talk, keep shadowing, and never stop exploring the world.
We will see you in our future videos. Bye, everyone, and congratulations!
Bye!